Good morning. This lesson is for my Integrated 1 class, but before I get started, I want to say I hope that everyone's doing all right out there. I'm not sure how I'm going to tell this, but when I tell it, I'll tell it how I'm going to title it. But what I am sure of is our one goal for the day. And our first goal is going to be to learn how to rotate a shape about a point. And we're going to do 6 different rotations. A 90-degree rotation, a 180-degree rotation, a 270-degree rotation, a negative 90-degree rotation, a negative 180-degree rotation, and finally a negative 270-degree rotation. All right, so I'll explain what these mean as we work our way through. Our first and only goal is we want to use a folded piece of paper to help us rotate a figure about a point. So we're going to have a shape. We're going to have a point it could be in the shape, but for now it'll be outside of the shape. And we're going to call this our point of rotation. And we're going to rotate our object in either this direction or the other direction around this. And we're going to rotate in these increments. Okay? So, again, this is more of an exploratory lesson where I want you guys to physically see what's happening to a figure as it moves in a two-dimensional space, which is a flat object. And you get hopefully a better understanding of the behavior of the rotation of an object. And we notice some subtleties here and see the differences between a translation and a rotation. Okay? So I have here directions which might be a little bit long-winded, but I think that they'll make sense as we work through the problem. So I'd like to actually read the directions as I'm doing them. I think that'll make them a little bit more relevant instead of me reading them, and then I think it'll flow a little bit better. But it would be a really good idea to hit pause in a second and write down everything. But let me just finish this thought. All right, so we're going to talk about how to rotate a figure about a point. We're going to spin 90 degrees. And when we do a 90-degree rotation, we're literally, and notice I made this type of rotation. So like, you know, when you're rotating or editing a photo of yourself with peace signs and duck lips in your phone, and you take your image and you rotate it like this, that's a 90-degree rotation. You just did a 90-degree rotation about a point. So you probably do most of these concepts when you're editing photos of yourself with selfie or with peace signs and duck lips. I think you do like that. That might be something offensive. But when you do that, you're doing a lot of this math that we're doing here. But again, I'd like us to physically go through the process and have a better understanding of what is happening. So let me go through this, and I'll be back when I set up at my other station to show you how this is going to play out and how to actually follow these directions. So I will be back. Alrighty, so I'm back. So I want to show you how to rotate a shape using a folded piece of paper, 90 degrees in what we call the counterclockwise direction. We'll get into a little bit more of that later, but let's go ahead and start by folding a piece of paper 4 times, twice in half. And the reason why we do this is so that we have a stronger straight edge, and it makes it easier to draw straight lines. All right, so this is my folded piece of paper. Fold it like when you fold it, make it so it's like a book. And so the bottom left is like where the book opens, right? The hinge. And you'll see why here later we want to do something like this. Okay. So let's go ahead and start off by drawing our 4-sided shape. And I'd like to draw a little bit of instead of a 3-sided shape, a 4-sided shape. And I'd like it to be a little bit more unique so that you can pay attention to the behavior of this shape as it rotates around a point. So there's my 4-sided shape. And I'm going to label each vertex. So there's A, there's B, there's C, and there's D. And I'm just going to put a point, an arbitrary point. And that's going to be the point that I'm going to rotate around. So So I'm going to read the directions now, and hopefully they make a little bit more sense now that you see it in context. And again, you want the paper to be like this. All right, so from the bottom left corner of the folded paper, mark the lengths on the left side of the paper from the point of the rotation to each point on the shape. Make sure to label each length. Okay, so here's my bottom left, and this is the left corner that I'm going to use. Okay, so from there to there, that's my length for A. From there to there, that's my length for B. Let me go over a little bit more. That's my length for C. And that's my length for D. Okay, so that's the first step. Pretty simple. The second step, from the bottom left corner of the folded paper, make the links across the bottom of the paper. So there, I have the links on the left side. Now I need to make the links off the bottom. Okay, and again, we just want to mark it. So from there to there, there's A. And from there to there, there's B. And from there to there, there's, you can see it, there's C. And from there to there, there's point D. Okay. All right, third step. Place bottom left corner on point of rotation and line up bottom of paper with points. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up just on points. Okay, so I've lined up to point A, and now I'm going to mark A on this side. Okay, now notice this is 90 degrees. All right, let's find point B. Line up point B with my point of rotation, and then I come over here and I mark B. Let me line up C, which is basically there. I don't need to do anything, all right. And then let me find point D and find point D. Okay. So now I have these 4 dots, and what I can do, and I should have done this as I was marking them, I should have labeled them. There's A, there's B, there's C, and there's point D. And let me use this as a straight edge to connect my dots. And I'm sorry I keep flipping everything over. But you can see now that my shape has rotated, has spun about this point. So again, what we do is we find the links on one side of a corner and we find it on the other side and line them up and move them. So this is how we rotate a shape 90 degrees about a point. Okay, so let me set up the next part of the lesson and show you how to do 180 degrees. We're still going to use this piece of paper, and you're going to see why I wanted to have it so that it opens up like a book, because it'll make the next part a little bit easier. So let me clean this up, set up the whiteboard, and I'll be back. I'm back. So now I have on the board the directions to rotate 180 degrees about a point. So why don't you hit pause, write this down. I'll go over the directions as I'm doing it so it makes a little bit more sense. Hopefully a lot more sense and a little bit more sense. So go ahead and copy this down. And I'm going to move over to my rotation table and I'll be back. I'm back. Okay, so here we are. We're going to rotate it 180 degrees, and you're going to see why I wanted the one in the bottom left to be like a book. Okay. All right, so first unfold your paper. There should be one set of links on one side of the fold. I realize I spelled one wrong. Line up the fold on the point of rotation and mark the links on the other side of the fold. So see, I have my fold and I have links on one side of the fold. I'm going to line up my fold with a point of rotation, and like before, I'm just going to mark the links on the other side of the fold. So let me open up this pen and go through the steps. So there's my A. There's my B. Oh, yeah, there's my B. There's my C. And there's my D. That's a bad C. Okay. So step 2, with the fold on the point of rotation, line up the original point, mark. Line up with the original point. So there's my fold on the point of rotation. I'm lining up my original point. And on the other side of the fold, mark the new location. So there's A on one side, so I'm going to come over here and mark that on the other side. I'm going to go line up my point of rotation and my B now. Oh, I should write A. Let's see here. I don't know why I wrote it in that direction, but that's okay. There's my fold on the point of rotation. There's my point on B. So now I'm going to come over here and put a point on B, and I'll write my B right there. Do the same for C. And do the same for point D. Connect, and we have now rotated 180 degrees. That was not a very good line. Let me fix that. Okay, so now I have original, I rotated 90 degrees, and I rotated 180 degrees. Notice that as I rotate in this direction, point D is always in the front, point A is always in the back, point B is always the farthest away. All right, and so point C is always between point B and the point of rotation. So wherever you're at with respect to the point of rotation, you stay there. Okay, and again, this is just a physical exercise. I'm doing this so you understand the behavior of a rotation. So we have one more rotation to do, which is 270. I'm going to go write the directions on the board, and I'll be back. I'm back. So let's talk about how to rotate a 270 degree angle. And actually, the directions are very short, and we don't have to add anything to our folded piece of paper. So why don't I get out of the way, you hit pause, and then write it down, and then I'm going to go to my other location and show you how to do it. It's really easy, so go ahead and write it down, and I will be back. All right, I'm back. So we're going to go ahead and rotate this original shape 270 degrees. And again, I'm going to read out the directions that I worked through this, so we don't have to remark anything. We've done enough marking on our piece of paper. There's my left side, there's my bottom left, and there's the bottom of our paper that we have with the marks. So the first thing we need to do is we're just going to place the bottom left corner of our folded piece of paper on the point of rotation and line up the left side of the paper with the points. So let's start with point A. So let's line up point A, and I'm going to make a mark where my new A is at. There's A, and then do it again for B. And do it again for C. And one more time for D. Did I do C in the right place? I don't think that I did. Oh, I did, okay. Whew. And then do it again for point D. Try not to be in a rush because I don't want to film this whole thing again. All right, there's my point D. Let's connect the points. And we will see that it has in fact rotated. So your assignment for this first lesson is you're going to rotate let's see, I go A to B, and C to D. Okay, you're gonna need to rotate a three-sided shape, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, and 270 degrees. You're gonna have to rotate a four-sided shape, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, and 270 degrees. And you're gonna have to rotate a five-sided shape just as many times. And again, I wanna make sure that we are, oh no, did I do it wrong? No, I didn't. Okay, good. Woo. So again, notice that we're leading with point D, trailing with point A. Point B stays the furthest away, and point C is between point B and the point of rotation. So, in a sense, there's like a dark side of the moon. This never gets the sunlight, right? Never gets the sunlight, never gets the sunlight, never gets the sunlight. So, hopefully this makes sense on how to rotate a shape about a point using just a folded piece of paper. 90 degrees, 180 degrees, and 270 degrees. I'm going to write that next to these just to reinforce this. So this is my 90 degree, this is my 180 degree, and this is my 270 degree. And this would be what we would call a 0 degree rotation, or a 360 degree rotation. Now I'm going to go back to the whiteboard, talk a little bit about the negative rotations, and then come back to this and wrap it all up. So let me move over there, and I will be back. I'm back. All right, so I just want to point something out before I wrap this lesson up on the whiteboard. This is a 90 degree rotation, or it's a negative 270 degree rotation. Okay, 90 degree or negative 270 degree. This is a 180 degree, or it's a negative 180 degree rotation. And this is a 270 degree, or it's considered a negative 90 degree rotation. Now, 0 degree rotation, that could actually be considered two things. It could be considered a 360 degree rotation, or it could be considered a negative 360 degree rotation. So I'm going to go on the whiteboard and explain why this is. So let me move over there, wrap up this lesson, and I'll be back. I'm back for the last time, I promise. So we're going to just talk about the direction we spin. And remember, when we talk about the coordinate plane, we talk about quadrant 1, and then quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. And so actually, going in what we call a counterclockwise direction is considered positive. Positive direction is counterclockwise. And if we spin in a clockwise direction, that's considered negative. So a negative direction is clockwise. Okay? So let's make sure we remember that. Now, if we forget, we can always come back to our coordinate plane, and you see that we count in that direction. So hopefully that helps us to remember. And so I want to talk a little bit about the rotations we did. By the way, a 90 degree rotation is the same as a negative 270 degree rotation. So I could rotate 90 degrees, or I could go negative 270. 180 degrees is the same as a negative 180 degree rotation. I can rotate in the positive direction to here, or I can rotate in the negative direction to here. And finally, a negative 90 degree rotation is the same as a 270 degree rotation. So negative 90 degree means I rotate in this direction, and a 270 degree rotation means I come this way. Every 90 degrees you rotate is a quadrant. So let's make sure we write that down. Every 90 degrees we rotate, positive or negative, is a quadrant. Okay? So because 180 degrees is 290 degrees, we rotate 1 to 2 quadrants. we go to 2 axes, all right? So I'm gonna go ahead and end this lesson here. Hopefully it's clear to you how rotations work by physically doing them, and I hope that we have a much better understanding of them. The next lesson, let me knock this over. The next lesson we get into the mathematics behind rotations, but again, I wanted you guys to have a physical understanding of the concept before we started. So again, I hope everyone is doing all right out there. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.